Hello everybody, welcome to my page. For my Unit 3 blog, I wanted to do a video because this is a very important topic. We have been talking about differentiated instruction, which we all have our different beliefs, our different opinions, how to implement it, and all sorts of things. And so this week I wanted to go ahead and cover my differentiation beliefs and cover a specific strategy that really stood out to me as far as differentiated instruction, and kind of discuss about why that strategy stuck out to me and why I believe that it will work in the classroom. So first and foremost, I wanted to say that I believe that differentiated instruction within the classroom is critical in order to truly not leave a child behind in terms of education. Differentiated instruction benefits students because they are receiving instruction that is tailored directly to them. It also benefits teachers because they are challenging themselves to create flexible instruction that is intended to support each student's growth and learning. As we know, differentiated instruction doesn't mean that we create a bunch of different curriculums for every different student. We take the same curriculum, and as teachers, we're responsible for teaching that curriculum to every student. One of the most important things about differentiated instruction is knowing and understanding the whole child. So that doesn't mean just what their abilities are. That means what their abilities are, what their strengths are, what their challenges might be, their interests, because we can always implement their interests into their instruction, as well as what their home life is like, because sometimes their home life can affect their education. So knowing the whole child is one step, one strategy in differentiating instruction. Carol Tomlinson does cover a lot about in her book called How to Differentiate Instruction in Mixed Ability Classrooms. She covers a lot of strategies. Some of those strategies have a strong rationale for differentiating instruction based on student readiness, interest, and learning profile. And that's what I was just talking about. We can create a learning profile for each of our students as we learn the whole child. That is one really big strategy that is extremely beneficial. Time differentiated activities to support student success. We can create and deliver instructions carefully. How we present our instruction is a huge part of differentiating it. If we present it to the whole class in a bunch of different ways, our students are likely going to be confused. So if we are able to give them task cards or give them specific assignments that's tailored to them and that they understand their personal assignment, then that's effectively giving the instruction and differentiating it for each student. Assign students into groups or seating areas smoothly. And so much more. There's so much about, right here. Make a plan for students to turn in their work. Teach students to rearrange the furniture. Having your students take part in their classroom environment, take part in what you guys are learning, in the rules in the classroom. Those are really great ways for them to be involved and to kind of take their learning into their own hands. To support this belief, I will research extensively about differentiated instruction strategies and work to implement them in my classroom. Like I said, most of these strategies will come from Carol Tomlinson's book titled How to Differentiate Instruction in Mixed Ability Classrooms. And some of those strategies that I just labeled there are actually going to be some of the strategies that I will use in my own classroom. I think that I will be most excited to use the creating and delivering the instructions carefully, because she does list task cards as an opportunity to deliver the instructions to the students. And those task cards seem really interesting because, the students can go up to a pocket folder, for example, and they can pull their task card and read what they're supposed to be doing. And they can sit down and they can do their individual task or their task the way that I have given it to them. And that way they're in charge of assigning themselves the assignment, completing the assignment, and eventually handing it to me. So that is a cool strategy that I'm excited to be using in the classroom. minimizing noise. Now, this is the one that I wanted to discuss with you guys because I believe that minimizing noise in the classroom is an effective strategy because it allows students to really focus on their work without too much of a distraction. This goes for me as a student. I have, even though I am doing everything at home, I have a lot going on. I have a toddler, I have a husband, I have a dog, I have an 8-year-old, and we just have so much going on in our lives that noise is extremely distracting. Right now, for example, I had to close my door. I had to have my husband take my son down the hallway so I could focus on my work. And it's no different in the classroom with a classroom full of children. If you think about it, if you put 20 kindergartners in a classroom, then you're going to have a lot of noise. And so one of the strategies that Carol Tomlinson lists is minimizing that noise so then each child can focus and really work on their assignment. That way they all have a comfortable, quiet environment. Now, I have some research here that kind of will support why minimizing noise in the classroom is extremely important. It allows the children to work with a higher attention span. If there's tapping over here, talking over here, a TV going on over there, the child is going to have a smaller attention span. They're going to be looking at who's tapping. They're going to be looking at who's talking over here, listening to their conversation. They're going to be trying to watch the TV. I don't know if anybody has dealt with homeschooling right now. I know that the TV has been a huge distraction. Sometimes it's on in the background because somebody else is watching it, and we have to move our homeschooling to a totally different room just to avoid that distraction, to avoid the temptation to watch the TV. Another thing is keeping your group size smaller in the classroom is actually really important as well because that'll minimize that really loud chatter going on. If you have a huge group here and another huge group, if you have 3 or 4 huge groups, there's going to be a lot of talking. But if you put the group size smaller, people are going to be sitting closer together, they're going to be talking quietly, and they're going to be working together. So ultimately, there are strategies to quiet the classrooms. I know for me, for example, that I have used if you can hear me, touch your nose. And I'll wait until all of my students are looking at me. They're all doing what I'm saying. If you can hear me, touch your shoulders. When everybody's touching their shoulders, okay, now we can proceed. Another thing that here are some of the catchy sayings that a lot of people will say. Some teachers say this. They say, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. And the students will respond with 1, 2, 3, eyes on you. And they'll look. And another one is when a teacher says holy and the rest of the class says macaroni. So usually taking song lyrics or, a catchy phrase and use it and beginning it and allowing your students to repeat it back to you, that's a great way to minimize noise in the classroom. And sometimes you can do a certain signal. I remember for me, when I was in elementary school, we used to go like this. We used to put our hand on our lips, and then we'd go like this. Some teachers now do catch a bubble, where students will pretend like there's a bubble, and they'll pretend to eat it, and they'll put it in their mouth like this, and they'll hold it there until they're told otherwise. And they all work differently. So they all work differently for the classroom. But ultimately, in the long run, minimizing noise in the classroom is going to help students so then they can focus. It's going to help differentiate instruction so then students who really need that quieter environment get that environment so they're not feeling uncomfortable with their work and what they're doing in the classroom. But other than that, I will continue to work on my beliefs to support them. I will continue to do research and utilize Carol Tomlinson strategies so then I can have a very strong, supportive, differentiated classroom. I will work on minimizing the noise in my classroom to help students, and I will make sure that my students are learning, everybody is benefiting from any sort of instruction that I'm giving, and that I'm benefiting from using different strategies, trial and error, and giving my students equal opportunity to learn in the classroom. Thank you guys so much for joining my blog today, and I hope you enjoy. When you guys are on your way, I want you to think about what ways you can do or what ways you can work on differentiating instruction in your classroom, and what strategies that I mentioned today, and I will provide a link as well, what strategies that are mentioned in Carol Tomlinson's chapter 6 for managing a differentiated classroom, which one of those strategies really stick out to you, and why do they stick out to you? I want you to think about that and think about implementing that in your classroom. How is that going to work for you? Do you think it'll work for your classroom? And do you think that it will effectively differentiate the instruction within your classroom? Again, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.